Gray-haired man on the end.
Good evening, and welcome to the Fort Smith City Board of Directors special meeting and study session on this April 29th of 2025. The special meeting was called by Directors Christina Casavage, Neil Martin, George Casavage, Director Andre Good at the April 24th of 2025 special meeting. Madam Clerk, if you would, at this time, please call the roll.
Directors Rigo.
Here.
Good.
Here.
Kemp.
Here.
George Katsavis.
Here.
Christina Katsavis.
Here.
Settle.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Okay, thank you. This time I'll ask if there's any member of the Board of Directors that may have an item of business that's not already on the agenda. Okay. Seeing none, at this time we will go into executive session and convene for the purpose to talk discipline and terminate Chief Human Resources Officer, which is listed on your agenda. At this time, we will go into executive session. We will go in the main room.
Christina, is your mom here?
we're going to reconvene, and I'm going to open the floor for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion, and I move to direct Acting City Administrator Jeff Dingman to initiate any disciplinary action concerning the Chief Human Resource Officer and then report to the Board of Directors in a swift and timely fashion.
Need a second.
Second.
Okay. This time we'll entertain comments from the board. Okay. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Directors Rigo,
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
Kemp,
Yes.
George Katsavas,
Yes.
Christina Katsavas,
Yes.
Settle,
Yes.
Martin.
Yes.
Motion passes 7 in favor and 0 opposed.
Okay, thank you. At this time we'll entertain a motion to
Mayor,
adjourn.
before we finish up, I do have something I'd like to put on the next week's agenda.
Okay, you're
I'd like to make a
recognized.
motion for a resolution to be put on next week's to vote on. The resolution would have a public vote in the 2030 primary, which will be May or March of that year, for the extension of the police 1/8 cents tax and the 5/8 cent street tax. This would go into coincide with the parks and fire tax, which is up for revote in 2030. And my thought is the public is going to vote on this next 2 weeks. There's been some stuff about we promised something in 2022 that we'd have a revote in 2030, which is 8 years. So I want to have that revote on the police, and then I want to put the street tax, which is going to be voted on, extension at the same time. So what will occur is that the police, the fire, the parks, and the street tax would all be on a 2030 revote by the public, and that would allow all of us to stay together going forward.
Okay, we need some concurrence.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, if there's nothing further, need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Need a second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much.
For voting next week.
Next week, yes.
Thank you.
6th.
This time, we're going to go into the study session.
Yes.
Mr. Dingman, you're recognized for the first item on the agenda. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item on the agenda is to review the 2025 departmental operating budgets. The first one that we have this evening is for the Parks and Recreation Department. Here we have with us Sarah Deuster, and Director of Parks and Recreation, and Brian Penix, Deputy Director.
Good evening. Included in your board packet are our proposed reductions in the Parks Department. This is essentially, we've been preparing, kind of listening to everything and anticipating maybe there would be future budget reductions. We've been planning that, and as a result, we've put off some one-time purchases such as LED retrofitting. That's something, it was budgeted to do it all at once. Now we can just do it as the lights go out. There's no impact to services that way. We also did not proceed with installing security cameras at the Creekmore Community Center or at the Glass Pavilion. Creekmore, we haven't had security cameras there in over 10 years, so we're comfortable with saying, hey, we can stop it. Maybe we can in the future, but right now we're completely fine with that. The Glass Pavilion, the security cameras here do cover that well enough, so we're also comfortable with that. And then something Brian and I, not just us, but also our maintenance staff have talked about, where we are right now and capitalizing the most on the bodies we do have for maintenance, we've decided to reclassify an open maintenance supervisor position to a 4-person. So that gives us a leadership position in the field, but someone who actually still performs mainly work in the field. Yes.
We'll finish up after you get done.
Yeah, that was it. So essentially, we're picking up a field worker and not getting any additional FTE. And we are comfortable with that change. And something that's important for us is our department, it's not really structured to advance up the ladder, but this, making that down, it kind of helps incentivize our staff to stay here, invest in the Parks Department, and they still have somewhere to advance within the department. So that's kind of what led to that change.
Okay, thank you. This time, I think Director Christina Katsavas, you the first.
My question was on page 11, the line 527,500 for small equipment, the 2,400 for the POS system. How would the POS system be used for the pool? Is that for like a concession stand or something
Yes.
like that? And so I saw you were eliminating that. I wasn't sure what the process is for acquiring a POS system, but you can utilize Square, and that's free if you do the little square that just hooks into the phone. And then, they have all the way up to like $700, but I thought $2,400 seemed a little bit much. And if you're not utilizing a POS system for the concession stand, would it be cash only, or just not do it?
Yes. So in the past, we did try the credit card route. It was pre-pandemic, and then we went to cash only. And this particular system, it was to be integrated with our Tyler cashiering. Okay. So that's kind of why you see that larger amount, because it's an initial investment. But we have been considering something, and I think it's Clover, which integrates with our booking software.
Yeah.
Which means we would only have to input it once, instead of right now we're inputting things 3 times to make it mesh with Tyler cashiering and our booking system.
Was Clover $2,400?
No, it was not.
How much was Clover?
We never got a full price, but it's something Springdale Parks and Recreation uses. We did contact them; they're happy. They also use our new booking software, and it's pretty. I'm not going to say it's cheap, so to speak, but it's much less expensive than $2,400.
Okay. Because I just know from my personal experience, I use a Square when I do traveling shows, and I've got the little Square, and it was free, and then it's like $29 a month. I just wanted to make sure that you weren't missing out on those concession sales, because they do they're a good income generator.
Absolutely.
So that was my concern there, was we will still have some concession sales.
Yes, it will just be cash only this year. And, we have a lot of construction going on. The pool will open Memorial Day weekend, but we have the parking lot under construction. So right now there's still a lot of logistics, but I think for this year, let us operate as usual and then have time to really get a plan instead of rushing into something. It makes most sense for us right now.
Yeah, I like the Clover idea, because I think that's lower cost, and it's a little more portable, and people are more familiar with that interface.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Director Settle.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, very much. When I go to page 10 and look at the maintenance buildings, 2 things catch my eye, and part of it, I think, really falls into the capital CIP area, which is the retrofitted LED lights for the tennis courts. I know that's $6,000, but would probably save some money on the flip side in electricity cost.
Yes, and all of the LED retrofit, that's something we were asked to put in our budget as part of the energy efficiency, and we did that, and Jeff's had some communication with the tennis center people, and in the CIP now, that project is 2028, but looking at it, 2027, we plan to move it up to 2026 due to the condition of the courts.
Okay.
So
I just think the lights would be nice.
Yes.
And then I'm going with the outdoor restrooms. I think spend $2,500 to put partitions. I think I'm good with leaving those both in the budget.
Okay.
I think the LEDs would change the way the tennis courts are operating, be brighter, probably be better for the community, and they're used all the time. And then I think we've had some issues with restrooms, and I think $2,500 for some partitions would change that. So I'm good with leaving both those in. That's to my board. I think both of those are easy ones to put back in the budget, and would be a win for both those issues, especially with the light of the toilets. I think you brought up the bathrooms in the past, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, thank you. Director Neil Martin.
Probably the biggest bulk of this is the outside services, $111,000, as it relates to Acme Brick.
Yes.
So can you give me, this talks about the stormwater mitigation component of that property, which is, despite what we hear about parks, the stormwater, the mitigation of flooding downstream is the biggest piece of that particular park. So cutting this $111,000, what does that do to the moving forward with the stormwater mitigation, or at least the flooding resolution, or
Right.
flooding mitigation.
So our side of this, engineering department has a separate agreement that is with an engineer specific for that.
Yeah.
But the reason it was important for this master plan to coincide with that is because there's a lot of overlap and coordination with what do we want this to look like in the future. Maybe it's a park, maybe it's not. We honestly, none of us know that right now. What we do know is the main priority is stormwater mitigation, but how can we best utilize the other 100 acres of land that's out there? And that's what this is. So
This is how to best use the rest of that
yes, and
property?
that includes
Okay.
maybe it's amenities, maybe it's selling some of it off, whatever that may be. We just started. We had our first strategic meeting with the core and technical committee, which is Jeff, Maggie, I, Stan, Matt, and their engineers essentially. We had that last month, and we had some really good discussion, and this is kind of preemptive, I guess,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
But
yeah.
in June, RDG, the master plan on our side, does plan to present to the Parks Commission.
June?
An update of what we are going through. So that's active, and I think it's been really beneficial. And I thank the board for allowing us to proceed with that.
So this $111,000 does not impact our ability to continue moving forward with floodwater mitigation or storm
No,
mitigation?
it does not.
Okay.
Actually, coordinating with that saved us $51,000.
Okay. Okay. And so just so I'm clear, this 111, if you don't put these 111,000 in this year, what happens with the park? Or what happens with the land?
Nothing. Well, I say nothing. So with the master plan agreement, nothing will happen because the way it's aligned with kind of the calendar schedule, all those services under that agreement would not have been able to be complete by December 31st
Okay.
anyway, so there would be some carryover.
Okay. So this could potentially be.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I see what you're saying. The other item I have is page 12, and it is related to the Cisterna, $105,000 to transfer the Cisterna Park pump house improvements and repair of the fountain to the 1/8 cent sales and use tax. Why is it not there already?
Because this was a repair and something that kind of stemmed as, is it a repair, is it a capital project? Technically, it could be both, but, we've already used 1/8 cent sales tax money to make improvements to Cisterna
Yeah.
Park. And with this, we kind of justified it as this
Okay.
is an improvement. We're going to redo the pump house, bring that up from the basement where it floods with water, and also improve the fountain, install a new liner. So
Okay.
that's kind of where that came from.
Okay.
Are you going to bring your pump house above ground, or are you going to leave it down?
It's
You going to
the,
leave it in the same spot, or are you going to move
yes, same spot.
That's all I have.
it? Okay, thank you.
Director Kemp.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Dister, when we had talked during my kind of orientation as a new board member, I know we were talking about equipment that the Parks Department's going to need to improve upon mowing. That, there was an old truck and things that you guys are, operating with. Will any of these, are we addressing that this fiscal year? And will these cuts make any changes to whether we can accomplish those goals on getting the equipment that you need for better mowing within the staff?
I think these cuts are essentially putting money back into the general fund balance. And I know kind of where we are, we do have fiscal policies that capital purchases, whenever we fall below a certain threshold, aren't permitted. So I don't think what we're doing today would, unless the board advises otherwise, would give us equipment.
So as it stands right now, you all, as a department, still stand in need of what? A couple trucks? A truck?
I'll defer to Brian. He
Thank
is
you.
our maintenance expert.
A
So
couple trucks would help us out tremendously. A couple vehicles have been there since I've been there, so they're like 2000. Oh, excuse me.
Is it fair to say that sometimes you guys get the hand-me-downs?
Yes, it would be fair to say that, yes.
Okay. Which is, I understand everybody, you got to have a use of a vehicle that we still have. But this is impairing our mowing ability and
Yeah,
getting
we-
it done in a timely manner and at a regular schedule.
Yes, with downtime and all that, we don't have another backup truck. One's involved in an accident. It was a total loss, so it does give us quite a bit of downtime and slow us down to get out to areas to mow.
I would just love to hear at some point, especially if we get to the mid-fiscal year, I wish I could hear it sooner than that because mowing is now. But I would love to hear what they need so that we could talk about this as a board to get them the equipment they need. I know I hear often people talk about mowing, and the maintenance of the parks, and they need the equipment to do that. So I just want to bring that to our attention. Thank you.
Okay. Director Good.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director Kemp, and thank you, Director Settle, for your comments. My comment just basically piggybacks off both of your comments on listening to what staff needs to do the work. We talked about cost-saving measures, whether it was alternative fuel, LED lighting, for years now at the lead of Director Settle, who's been pushing that for years. So now we have this in front of us as a cost-saving measure looking forward, and we are looking at one-time budget cuts. And are we doing ourselves any due diligence in making one-time budget cuts? Sure. And it's going to be pressed back until the next year of a need. And then, like the security cameras, it might not be much of a need now, but wait until something happens and we want to respond to social media on why don't we have security cameras. Then we're going to say, we need security cameras. And then we're going to be forced to put those expenses not budgeted into a physical budget plan on that year. So I'm saying all that to say, appreciate you bringing the budget forward, making the necessary cuts, but from what I see, these are small cuts that aren't going to amount to much except for this 1 year, because the need is going to continue. And if the need is not now, the need will happen, or the board will be reactionary in making a decision on how much money we spend on security cameras or whatever we're going to drop out of the budget this year. So thank you for presenting the information. I'm good with what you presented, but I actually think some of the things that we have taken away, like the security cameras, like Director Settle just said, the LED lighting, the mowing, the equipment, you've asked for it because you need it, not because it's just something you want. So we'll have another set of discussions about budget on what's needed when it's right here in front of us. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Madam Mayor, I have one.
Director George Casares.
Yeah, Sarah, could you get the board a list of all the parks in Fort Smith,
Absolutely.
even the pocket parks?
Yes, we can do that.
Is that too much trouble?
No, not at all. And honestly, I was going to ask Sherry. I know she's been compiling a list,
Yeah.
so she knows that. And something I know Director Kemp and I have discussed, some of the pocket parks we do have them for a reason.
What's the reason?
That it goes back to stormwater mitigation and flooding, so that's why we have them, most of them.
But they're maintained right by the Parks Department?
Yes. Yes.
But if you didn't have them, you won't be maintaining them, right?
Our 6201, program 6201.
So how much money would that save?
Not much at all,
Not
because
much.
the size of them, we'd still need what we have now. It's just a matter of time and nominal amount of fuel cost.
Yeah, you don't have any immediate plans to develop that in any brick property, do you?
No,
Because we don't have the money.
correct.
Because you said sell, and with I voted for that $2.8 million just for the retention ponds, but the rest I would like to sell and get our money back to the general fund. If that's something the board would consider, that's all.
Any other questions for Parks? Okay, seeing none. Thanks, Sarah. Yeah.
So the next set of discussions revolve around the policy administration departments, management services departments, development services departments for the city. All the city departments were asked to evaluate their operating budgets and submit recommendations for reduction. Large departments that encompass multiple budget programs were asked to find at least 10% in recommended reductions. Smaller departments with only one budget program were asked to identify at least 5% in reductions. Most of the policy and admin, the management services, development services departments encompass only one budget program. For this discussion, starting with the group of policy and administration, the mayor's, starting at just in numerical order, the mayor's budget is the first for review. And then we have Jennifer Petrovich, Jessica Underwood here to assist in this discussion with the mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Just looking at the bottom line, and thanks, ladies, for the work you put into this. Looks like there's going to be a little over 38% reduction in the mayor's budget. Keeping in mind a lot of the budgeted items, we never even got close to spending what was budgeted over the past years. But anyway, we're open for questions.
Mayor, you mind?
Yes.
So, Mayor, in the budget, you have July 4th as a separate line item, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So we have. So is that staying, that amount of 100,000 staying as is?
We will leave that there. It's a big event, but very rarely do we get to that.
Okay. So if I take that out, that one event is 1/6 of your whole budget.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So the remaining cuts is going to be the 241. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Director Kemp.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Will these cuts affect any public events that were to be scheduled in the fiscal year?
I don't think so. We get a lot of public support. We have individuals and groups that participate in these events, and they do bring financial support. We have a great community, and many businesses step up to support, so we can make these events happen. Again, in light of the requested budget cuts, we're willing to do our part. Any other questions? Okay. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
If I might, on the Board of Directors program, that's typically one that I put together and is managed through the administrator's office. But you can see the 75,000 in reductions there, and amounting to about a 15% cut. Most of the reductions are related to the operation of this building, the largest portion there. The maintenance of this building was a large individual cut. And something we'll talk about in a little bit further down the line is that with the purchase of the City Hall building and the continued operation and eventual ownership of this building, and Andy and I have specifically talked about creating a facilities budget facilities program where we, instead of putting those dollars in the Board of Directors program, we used to budget in the purchasing program for the rent payment for the Stevens building, which we'll no longer have. So those dollars will contemplate transferring to a new facilities maintenance budget. Not an increase in those numbers, but moving these dollars from this board program, the purchasing program, and a few others, so that maintenance is captured in one program. And then it doesn't have the impact on this particular program. But some of the other cuts you can see there are a lot. Some of the other current expenses and building safety items were anticipated for this building.
Director Christine Kasavich was first in the queue, and then Director Lee Kemp.
So, Jeff, on talking about the maintenance, the building maintenance, so line item 527-100, in the adopted budget that I have, it looks like there was nothing budgeted for it. But then in what I call the general ledger, it was $50,000 for replace front entry doors. And we're cutting, it looked like $40,000. So what exactly are we cutting? Are we cutting out the doors?
Yes, and that was anticipated to, well, and some architectural services for redressing the sort of the front of this building and improving the efficiency of the doors. And I mean, the 50,000 wasn't specifically for the door. That was a good chunk of it, but
Looked like doors and handrails.
right. Well, I mean, if you'll notice that the handrail that's right outside the front door is not particularly adequate for that purpose. It needs to be replaced, but that's something that we can find another. We can do that another time.
So I guess my question is, we're cutting $40,000 out of a line item that it looks like nothing was budgeted for. How do we reconcile that?
I thought there was
100.
7,100. 65,000 was budgeted. That's the mayor's budget. He's on city administrator's budget.
4101.
Okay. Okay, my mistake. I was on the wrong page. So we're cutting 40,000 out of that one.
And there's not a specific use for the 25,000 that's left that's been identified. I mean, we obviously need somebody in here to figure out what's making this place stink.
Yeah. So we're putting off the doors and the handrail, and then any associated engineering or architectural cost with that.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Director Kemp.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make just a confirmation on this neighborhood services appearing in the margin between the two programs of the $75,000 cut.
That's a cut and paste error. My
Okay.
apologies.
I was just making sure. I was like, is that saying that the board of directors contributes to that and we're cutting?
No, sir. No,
Okay.
sir. That should have been a totals.
I understand. Okay. I just wanted to bring clarity to that. And are we talking about program 4102 still, or are we only on 4101?
4101.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for board of directors budget?
I would just ask, you joked about it, but we do need to do something about the smell, please.
Agreed.
Okay. I mean, we're big public's here. This is our town center. We need to figure this out.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Okay, next.
Program 4102 is the city administrator's budget. You can see there the proposed reductions, $192,000 overall, and almost a 12% cut from the entire budget.
Director Kemp.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is actually for my colleague here who doesn't have a voice tonight, so I'm speaking on his behalf. Line item 50,000, which is just 5 and a bunch of zeros. The salaries miscellaneous regular with the cut 50,000. Is this in regards to a vacant position, or is this a position being cut? Could you speak to that?
This is regarding a vacant position. Currently, the city administrator position is vacant. We've been through through a quarter of the year, so the amount that was budgeted in there for salaries, this is a quarter of that amount.
Any other questions? Director Christina Casares.
And then I know we had talked about cutting the Make My Move, and we voted on that. There's no more money allocated to that.
That's correct.
Okay.
Director Kemp.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is actually my question now, as I speak towards me. What does the advertising and printing? I know there's a big cut there, but what is that doing?
There are several things that it was budgeted at 40,000, and that was things like I think last year the Change Helps signs and things like that were printed through some of those funds. There's also advertising and frankly, the answer to your question is there's a proposed 75% reduction to that line item.
Yeah, no, I understand. And then the other one, other current expenses, 5,000.
Yeah.
Obviously, another big cut there. I mean, what What was truncated with other current expenses?
That was essentially, those were dollars that were budgeted for things like rentals at the convention center. I mean, those are small amounts, but there's a cumulative set of small amounts that are detailed, and I don't have my detail open to enumerate what those are. Let me see. Well, I have a different. Hang on.
So are we done with those change help signs? I mean, weren't we printing those ourselves and we spent $20,000 on those?
We did not print those ourselves because they were too large for our
Okay.
sign company.
Do we know how much money they brought in? Because last I checked, it was $900.
It's about that much. It's not.
On that note, I mean, have we ever considered just closing that down?
Closing the.
I mean, by removing the signs. I mean, if it's not making a difference, I mean, what was there? Is there an outcome that we benefited from it?
They're
very large.
They're large. They're an eyesore. The homeless are just using them as shades at this point. I think we thought it'd be effective at first, and we had some good traction, and then I think it just fell off after.
I mean, I know
that.
I was in Tulsa and I saw a sign, but it was just more like a smaller sign. These are pretty large signs. I just, if there's not really much of an outcome to it, maybe we fail forward here and pull them down.
I mean, the program that it refers to is the one that is operated by the United Way and was operating before the signs existed. So the text number to text a donation has existed, like I said, before the signs were even there. So it's not. I mean, they're up. I mean, if they're not being effective, I don't know if they are or not. They go to the United Way. To yes.
Sorry. The United Way distributes those funds equally to those 4 organizations unless the donor selects that organization specifically.
Has there been a noticeable increase or decrease in funding to change helps?
Well, the last time this campaign was ran, I think it got $0. So the difference between now is $900 to $1,000. I think that's.
So it got nothing, and now we've gotten $1,000. But
yeah,
that's $1,000 is over the course of
8 months, 9 months. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So I never intended. I was in favor of this at first. I never intended for the signs to look like they belong in Times Square. I was imagining a small sign. I was told we could print it in-house and it would be little to no cost. And the next thing I know, these things are up all over the city. And, that was never my intention. We spent way too much on those.
I mean, if I could, Josh, could you speak to, is this a program you're overseeing?
I was directed to.
Yeah, but Josh's.
I was directed to create the artwork for the program. Yes.
Do you feel like it still has merit?
I feel like it brings attention to an issue, and I think the merit that it does bring isn't necessarily monetary in value. It just points out an issue that we were seeing at the time, and we did this in collaboration with all of those local nonprofits too. So it wasn't just solely one person's idea or the city saying we should do this. It was a collaborative effort.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, we'll go to the next. Go to number 4.
Item number 4 is the district court. You can see I don't know if we have. There we go. If you can introduce yourselves. Thank you.
Okay.
So we have completed our required trainings for the year and to maintain our certification. So most of our reductions came out of the travel. We were fortunate enough to be allowed to attend some trainings this year that were grant funded, so we didn't even have to worry about being reimbursed for them. We were just able to attend those, so we kind of got that out of the way this year. So we didn't quite make the whole 10%. But something I wanted to point out by some of our budgets is that we will have grant funds coming back in and reimbursing on our specialty courts up to $15,000. So we will be receiving that as well.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing none. Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I might go backwards just a bit, the question was asked about the other current expenses for the city administrator budget, and I couldn't find my detail, but those dollars were a lump sum for community events, economic development, chartering transportation as we need it for different events, leadership Fort Smith, catering at city events, and rental of the convention center, and also our commitment to the Levitt AMP series sponsorship.
Okay, thank you.
That was the other current expenses line item in the city administrator budget. I think Director Kemp or someone asked me about that a second ago, and I couldn't find my detail, but
okay. Any other questions? Now we'll go to number 5.
City Prosecutor.
Good evening. I'm Colton Pace. I'm the City Prosecutor. I've made several cuts, mostly just regarding to my rental of the printer, cutting out some of the paper that we'll use for my office, various items like that. Based off the trajectory of this first quarter of this year, I think we'll have more than enough budgeted. So those are my primary cuts.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
Thanks for being here.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
The next program on the list is the city attorney program, which doesn't have any personnel. I administer that one as well. It has a legal services line item, and dues and subscriptions, and other current expenses cuts amounting to $42,000. Any particular questions on that?
Director Kemp.
Yes, sir.
What does the dues and subscriptions entail instead of, like legal services I get, obviously, but what's the dues and subscriptions?
We participate in the Municipal League's Legal Defense Fund, our Legal Defense Program, and that is the per capita annual charge. It actually is $120,000, and that's, I think the 151 essentially was a mistake in terms of what our dues amount is for that program, so that's why the 31 is cut and 120 is left.
Any other questions?
I do. Do we ever utilize that, the AML Legal Defense Program?
We do use it periodically, but one of the more important things that it allows us to participate is the state's opioid reduction or opioid recovery funds. The Municipal League was we participated in that program through them, and so participating in this fund makes us a subscriber or a participant in that sort of class action type of work that they're doing.
Any other questions? We'll go to Rise Court.
And Rachel is coming back up to address these items.
Rise Court. Who's it?
It's Judge Grimes' adult, misdemeanor adult drug court.
Mayor,
How many have been to Rise Court?
I have not yet, but I'm going to.
Yes.
I got a question.
Yes, Director Settle.
Will this impact Rise Court at all?
The cuts that we
Yes, ma'am.
no, sir, because that was some of the programs we got to attend on grant funds.
Okay.
So we have received our training this year
Okay.
On grant funds. So
I just don't want to impact the Rise or the DWI Court. That's all.
judges are good with their CLE.
Okay.
The staff will be going to a conference later this week where we'll be getting our hours that we need. So
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Director Kemp.
Thank you. On these two particular, because this is not where I want to find our money, in my personal opinion. If there were no cuts made, are there things that the courts can have a funding to do that they might not have had? I mean, I know you're talking about training, but would these dollars accomplish anything if they were left alone towards the court's purposes?
No, I think we're really in pretty good standing there because the Sebastian County Law Library has agreed to give us $15,000 reimbursing on some of our expenses for these specialty courts. So that's been very, very helpful.
So funding is not really a burden on the court right now.
Correct. And then also the offenders that go through these programs pay program user fees, which are kind of put back into the program, but kind of offset some of the expenses that we have.
Okay, thank you. If you get a chance to go to Rise Court, go and sit in. It's a good program. We'll go to District Court.
The DWI Court.
Oh, DWI. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
They pretty much operate the same way.
Okay. Okay, very good. Okay, if there are no questions, we'll go to the next item. Thank you.
The next item is the internal audit program. I don't know.
Skip that.
I think Andy is coming up to address the budget items.
So yeah, we worked up some looked over the budget for internal audit. A lot of the cuts were just based upon cutting back on travel and training for conferences. We left enough in so that staff can still pursue their certificate and internal auditing certifications, and also make sure that they're requiring enough CPE hours. But you know, they do attend a lot of training on a regular basis, so we just cut back on some of that, make sure they're still getting training there. We did cut down, adjusted the salaries, and then also you see like down in outside services, you see the negative cut. That was to allow for the full year of the Baker Tilly contract. During the course of this budget, we were supplementing that contract with the open position for the director, and so but there is also another open position in there. The IT auditor position has been open, and so we cut that. But I also factored in salaries for, assuming we were hiring a director of internal audit starting June 1st. So I built in that into those adjustments as well. So even with that, we managed to get a 10% cut out of their budget. And I would say that it's primarily cutting back on the travel and training for the year, but also cutting the IT audit position.
The position's still out there, we're just not funding it.
That's right, for this year. And so that's how we came up with that.
Director Casavage.
So since we've been contracted with Baker Tilly, what have they done for us?
Nothing.
Well, I am not privy to what's been going on.
So they've been working with staff, assessing staff, what staff's been doing, looking at previous audits. We are getting ready to, and I need to speak with you about this, we're getting ready to initiate the questionnaire for the risk assessment. So, well, I'll just share it. So they want to, they've got a presentation, and they've got somebody that needs to email department heads, letting them know that a survey is going to be coming. And then once the survey is ready to go, they're going to send it out probably to the department heads to help them to develop the risk assessment. So the risk assessment portion is where we're at right now. And that's really the next major step that we'll have with them. So we're still moving forward. Had communication with them today, but that's where we're at, is to get the risk assessment out so that everybody knows that it's coming, and then send it out so that they actually take it, and then that data becomes the data that they use to develop the risk assessment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Question.
Director Good.
Director Martin, you said you spoke. Are you speaking with Baker Tilly?
Yes.
Are they still working with current internal audit staff?
Yes.
Because that was part of the conversation when we decided to continue the commitment, the contract with Baker Tilly, was that they were going to actually help our current staff in training moving forward.
Yep. I don't think we've necessarily got to that point yet. And like, I think it's been more of an assessment period.
Right.
So I think as we get
on the high risk,
more of an assessment of who they are, what they have, what the current staff has done, say last year and then into this year, and then now that we do the risk assessment, I think they'll probably be more hands-on communication, or more hands-on about working with the staff, developing the staff, those kinds of things.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thanks, Andy.
The next department starts our Management Services Department, starting with the Human Resources Department.
Thank you, Board. Rick Lawley, Chief Human Resource Officer. With me is Eric Garvin, our Deputy Director of Human Resources. So our 80% of our budget is on the personnel costs, so we've got 20% that's in the operating costs, and you can just see there what's we're looking at cutting. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Rick, who funds you all? How are you funded?
Pardon?
How are you funded? Where do y'all get your money to operate? From what fund?
It's several.
It's right there.
I can't see it.
It's 48% general fund, 2% street and sales tax, 8% street maintenance, and 31% water and sewer, and 11% solid waste.
38% water and sewer?
Yes.
31%.
So the adopted,
31% water and sewer.
the adopted
11%
budget
solid
I
waste.
have here tells me a different story. What? Why did the numbers never add
Well,
up?
the other thing that's happened since the adopted budget was finished is that we had the allocation study come forward, and we applied the board asked us to apply the allocations to the 2025 budget.
I got this last week.
But it was that's the printout of the adopted budget, which was printed earlier than that. I mean, it was developed earlier than that.
Yeah, it feels to me like we have so many different versions of budgets so that nobody has to be accountable. That's what it feels like.
Any other questions for HR?
Mayor.
Director Settle.
Employee recognition is very important. And so I know you're cutting out 15,000 employee recognition. What is typically employee recognition? I know there's a big dinner or lunch once a year. Is it more than that?
Well, that was the breakfast that we had recognizing certain milestone anniversary years. That we did that for 2 years. It was not as well attended as we expected, and so we're cutting that part out and looking at other ways to do recognition.
Thank you.
Anything further for HR? Thank you, Rick. Director Kemp, did you have a question?
Yeah, just on the maintenance in buildings, is that money that was going to be spent to help renovate the HR space that you guys are looking to still move into, or what did that?
It was budgeted to fix the mold issue that we had. Then it was discovered that it was beyond just our floor, so it ended up that we didn't have to fix that part of our office, that it was part of the whole building
So there's
remediation.
nothing that will be lacking because of that cut?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
That was the building owner at the time remediated that, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
The next program is the city clerk's program.
City clerk's budget, the vast majority of that, what I have cut is from advertising and printing. The reason that it comes from there is because back in 2023, the administration actually opted to change our publications from Times Record to the River Valley Democrat Gazette. And I will just say that in 2022, we spent just under $43,000, and that is for the publication of ordinances, required by law, by the way. And so as you can see there, I have cut, we typically budget $45,000 for that. But in 2023, it went down to $26,455 is what we spent. In 2024, it was down to $17,000, a little over $17,000. So that's where I took the vast majority of that out, is from advertising and printing. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for our clerk, Director Kemp?
I mean, the postage and the other things that are there, I mean, are those still going to allow you to mail things that you still need to mail? I mean, are you still leaving a margin there?
I'm still leaving a little bit because the postage has increased some.
Okay.
And that just varies every year, and a lot of that comes from our appeal process for the property cleanup liens, because we do have to notify those individuals multiple times
So
by
do you think you
certified
still
mail.
will have adequate funding left to do that?
Yes, I keep a close watch every year.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a quick question. Sherry, what about elections? That's a fixed cost, right? There's no
Yes, we typically
budget for elections each.
Every 2 years.
Yeah.
Yes, we typically budget $40,000 for the general election.
Okay.
But we also put about $40,000 in there just in case there's a runoff.
So these budget cuts aren't going to affect your ability for the elections?
No,
Not at all?
I did not touch that. No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. If there are no further questions, thank you. Finance.
The next one is, yes, the Finance Department.
Okay. So finance, we've got $153,000 or $156,000 worth of cuts. The biggest cut was we've got a accounting manager position that we haven't filled probably the last couple of years. We've left it open. We've just the deputy director and some of the other accountants in our department have kind of assumed all those duties, and I think we're just getting more efficient. So we cut with that position. We just eliminated. We're not planning on filling that this year, and then also went through and eliminated travel for conferences this year. Basically, just keeping enough travel. Our State Finance Officers Association is actually coming to Fort Smith this year for their summer conference, so we're all going to participate in that at the Wyndham. So I assume they're having it at the convention center, but I know they've got a block of rooms at the Wyndham.
When is that?
I think it's July, second week of July. Yeah.
Good time.
Anyway, we don't have to travel for that.
I'd be surprised.
So we're gonna do that. So and then just having enough hours training, make sure everyone gets any required hours that we need. But the large part of it was just that vacant accounting manager position that we have in finance.
So, Andy, if we were doing the zero-based budgeting or priority-based budgeting, is that a position you would even put into the budget since it hasn't been filled and you guys have gotten more efficient?
I'm not really sure how that would work exactly, just because of the nature
What
of
would
our.
your preference be? I mean, it seems like if it's gone years without being filled and you were doing a priority-based budget, is that something that would merit priority?
I mean, I've basically left that position in there just so I can take it day by day. Am I meeting your needs? And is my department able to process this information and report timely? And so far, I feel like we've been pretty successful doing that with the staff that I have. And it's just something that I've just left there. And then also, I always wanted opportunities, like every once in a while, somebody really talented becomes available. Somebody that lives here, somebody that works in public accounting. Getting people that want to transition out of public accounting is always a good thing for a finance department, I feel like. It's kind of one of those things, it's like when it happens, it happens. So having that open position there allowed me an opportunity. If something like that came along, then I was able to, go through the process and get them hired. So it's kind of this or that, but, I think, we need, I'm supporting, obviously, saying we need to save, we need to cut costs, in our general fund. And, I feel like, we're meeting the needs right now, and so I don't think we can do it. We can do it without it. That may change in the future. As your all's needs change, we need to be able to respond to what to what you need as well. So that could change in the future, but for now, we don't need it.
Okay, thank you.
Director Kemp.
Could you just speak briefly, because I know we got moving to other things, but if that position was filled and you did have someone that was very sharp, as you spoke about, what kind of expedited work could we expect?
That's a good question. I mean, we'd probably, it's hard to say that we could do the quarterly reports faster or things like that, because that is a timing thing. The books have to close on a certain date, so it's not necessarily of hours. They would just be available to do more analysis probably, which, we seem to be, we're doing anyway, but I don't really know that we would really get further along with an extra person at this point.
Well, comment. Well, we might not now be needing that person, but remember, we weren't always in this position. We had some system changes that required a lot of man hour and a lot of people. So, and I'm sure at some point, as board members tend to do, ask staff, what do we need to be more efficient? And this was placed on a budget at some point and approved by a board for some reason. Again, all you guys weren't here when we were going through all those system changes and had all these financial problems that we were trying to deal with. Mm-hmm. So again, just because it's on the budget now doesn't mean it wasn't needed previously, and it might not be, and it may be needed in the future. Just want you to know, again, this is just not one of those things that just got entered in there for no reason.
Thank you. Any other comments? Not. Thanks, Andy.
All right.
Andy will stay there for the purchasing department as well.
So purchasing, we've got a $29,000 cut there. The biggest part of that's this salaries retiree pay route. That was actually, we were actually paid that out and charged it to 24, so we don't need that in the budget. That was for Ollie when he retired, so that can come out. The rest of it is, cutting back on travel and training. The purchasing manager position is not filled right now, and I'm just evaluating that. I feel like the team we have is able to manage that. With my oversight, with them, the purchasing tech and our contract specialist seems to be handling the duties. And so I'm getting good feedback from the other departments when working with them. So that's another, I'd like to be able to, be more efficient and not need as many people. So.
Okay. Any other questions for purchasing? Okay. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Services.
Well, yeah, okay. We'll go to IT. So we have next on one list, but on our sure.
Good to go?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. James Gentry, I'm Chief Information Officer. I have with me Steve Dimmitt. He is our IT Operations Director. You've heard me talk a lot about some of the technical debt we've been paying down since I've been here. This gentleman and his folks are the champions of that, and they're doing really good work. Also in the back, I have with me Sarah Byers. She's our project manager and all-around budget guru. She is a major part of the reason why our budget is in such line item detail every year. So that said, I'm going to keep this very brief. Our IT budget largely is comprised of services for other departments and facilities across the city. These are things like network connectivity across all of our locations, all communications. We're talking Motorola, AT&T, Cox, all of our telephones. Other services, our ERP system, Granicus, which is our website, our public noticing, streaming these very meetings. Our cybersecurity and our Microsoft Enterprise Agreement. These are all things that live in the IT budget. So when we talk about cuts, it largely becomes an exercise in working with every single department head and deciding, what do we want to shut off. That being said, we've taken a stab at cutting things from our core budget. Primarily, one of those things is a vacant position. This is a senior system administration position that would be reporting to Mr. Dimmitt. We've decided to go ahead and pause recruitment on that, even though we do still need that position. It is something that I would say is critical, but we are okay for now if the board so chooses and Mr. Dingman so chooses. We can pause recruitment on that for now. We will be okay. Moving forward, though, I would very much still like that position. That said, I'm going to pause there and stand for questions.
Okay, thank you, Director Settle, and then Director Kemp.
Thank you. This is Neil's background, but the $218,000 for software license fees. What are we? I'm trying to understand. It's a 7% cut, 6.6% cut. Is it a particular package, or is it just generic Microsoft computers we're not using?
No, so the software licensing fees, that $218,000 line item you're looking at, that cut. So that one is realized savings in year-to-date actuals so far. So you'll recall that when COVID occurred, all of a sudden licensing fees renewals, they skyrocketed. Normally we would project 5 to 7%. After COVID, those they climbed to we were seeing over 20% in some cases. So we had to increase the budget. This year, finally, it appears that is largely plateauing off. So we've over budgeted there, and we're cutting that back. That's the vast majority of that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Director Kemp.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for all putting this together. I was going to ask about the software licensing, so you asked about that, and then I had a follow-up. Personally, this is not an area where I would like to make cuts as far as if there's a position that you're looking to fill for IT. I don't know about my colleagues, but I would much rather you try to fill that position. If you can make the cuts elsewhere on some of these things here without any detriment to services, I think it's a great idea, but I think you go cutting IT from a position that they think they want going forward, you're not really thinking about the future. That's my comment. Thank you.
Need is a better word. We need that position.
Well, then I would say we don't need to put it on the cut list. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you said critical earlier. If something's critical, I think we got to keep it.
Thank you. That position was approved by the board just over a year ago. It was the life cycle specialist, which I need still for helping to deal with old technology. However, as we were beginning to recruit for that, we became ready. Working with Mr. Dimmitt and the rest of our team, we had a critical need in system administration. So the system administration is paying off a lot of that technical debt, helping us catch up with things. So it is, that's why I use the word critical. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Kemp.
Yeah, speaking for Director Rigo here, what is the prospect looking like to fill that position? If you had a green light and we say don't make that cut, what's the actual prospect of finding what you need in the personnel position?
It was very good. Actually, when we paused recruitment on that, we had already sent out invitations to set up interviews, and the pool was strong. Steve, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I feel like we can find what we need. We've been very fortunate to have some local candidates that really would fill that need for us.
Well, based on that, Director Rigo and I both now will voice that we are for you going for that position.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Salary range, I want to say, do you know what grade that position was off the top of your head?
I don't.
Yeah. Okay. I can get you that info, though, if you want exact numbers.
And we'd like to thank you for the good position you got our IT department in. When you came aboard, it was a little weak, but you managed to put us in a great place. We appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I'm gonna give all credit to my team.
Go ahead. Okay.
Thank
we
you.
have great people in IT. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
It's currently locked up. The next one down the list from there is communications. We'll come back to the other one, citizen service. Yeah. Well, Josh Bufink is our communications guru, so.
Okay. Should we take orders? Taking orders?
They closed in 4 minutes.
Oh, dang.
Your phone. That's right.
Okay.
So the largest portions of my cuts are to the advertising and printing budget. And then there were also some cuts to small equipment. But if you have any specific questions, I'm glad to take them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for our communications department? Director Kemp.
Are we outfitting things like this room the way you want? Is there things that you think we need to improve upon in meetings in the Blue Lion that these cuts are going to affect?
No, none of these cuts affect the work done at the Blue Lion.
Yeah, all of the dollars spent on the tech and stuff in the Blue Lion is currently from the Board of Directors.
4101,
program.
yeah.
Right.
And I'm not sure exactly where this will fit in the future, but part of something I'd love to see, and I think you and I have talked about this before, is a infrastructure splash page where you can communicate on what has been done, what's going to be done, and that was a project he even had passion for, but it's just the time, giving him the time and the space to do such a work. And I don't know if that's really going to have much of a cost that you'll need to look at to incur, but if anything, bring a special presentation to us at the right time.
Yeah.
I really would like to see us pursue that kind of communication piece.
Yeah, some of that's in the software licensing that was in James' budget. Specifically, I've been looking at a software called Social Pinpoint, so that wouldn't affect this budget either.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions, thanks, Josh.
The next one, community mobility, Michael Mings.
Director Settle.
So you got $40,000 sitting in architecture and engineering services. What was that going to do?
Typically, we would use that for grant applications. We're not seeing a lot of grants coming through right now, so we're hoping to reallocate the rest of that money into outside services. So that will be coming through an ask.
My struggle is I'm trying to say, do I want a person in IT? Do I want retrofit lights for the tennis courts?
Sure.
Or do I want that? And that's kind of where I'm at with this. You know, we're making cuts, departments, and so I struggle with that one because to me, I'd rather have the tennis courts or the person in IT before I'd have something else there. That's just me. Thanks.
Director Kemp.
Does any of this particular program, 4408, fund the bikes that are coming up where, you know, we had a grant and the grant got the e-bikes and things of that nature? Is this program in the budget tackling on that? Could you speak to that, how that's funded? Or
Technically, the Ride for Smiley's bike share program is all reimbursable, so the city has not spent any funds on that. But because it's reimbursable, we have to use money from outside services or anything project related, and so we do have expenses, but those come back to the city.
So does that come from program 4408?
Yes.
Okay. What's the future of that looking like? Is it going to stay funded from the federal side?
It doesn't look like it's going to stay funded. We're currently seeking sponsorships, and we've been pursuing those aggressively, looking for other grants. But right now, it's been pretty difficult to sustain.
Is that something that we're going to maintain in-house?
I was just going to say, Mike, I mean, there is currently some discussions around this in terms of trying to save or prolong the program that Michael's been working hard on, trying to find local sponsorships to continue it. You might explain the details of that, what that looks like.
Yeah, sure. So right now, a lot of bike share programs rely on sponsorships to stay sustainable. And so we've been trying to partner with the private sector to get the sponsors to keep the programs going, especially on the station locations that are performing well. We're finding that the stations are pretty sustainable when they're placed next to other bike infrastructure, like our Riverfront Trail or the May Branch Trail. Those stations typically do better, and so we'd like to sustain those if possible. And that's really our ask to the community, is to find those sponsorships.
Right, and the challenge is because the original grant that funded the program is running out.
Yes, and so we've got the bike share program until mid-June, operating the way it is now.
So Director Rigo would like to ask, maybe it'd be applicable to hear a presentation in the future about that program, the stats, the data you have, and provide that in a future study session.
I'd be happy to.
As well as sponsorship information.
Yes, can do that too.
I think Andre and FedEx will definitely contribute.
Okay.
I'd like to thank them for that right now in advance.
In June, is the expectation the bikes go away? Is that,
if we don't have any sponsors or if we don't have funding, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Will they go away in all areas, or is there any partial funding, or is it all or nothing?
It's at this point, it's all or nothing, but we think that we've got some sponsorships lined out to sustain us maybe through the fall.
Who's leading that effort?
Myself and there's also an employee through Ride for Smiley's, Mike Woodruff.
Is that UAFS?
To operate the bike share program?
Yeah.
No.
I thought it was a grant through UAFS. I thought that.
Yeah. Through the U of A, yes, and the National Science Foundation.
Oh, okay, not UAFS, but the U of A. Okay.
No, yeah, U of A. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for our mobility team? Okay. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Now we'll finally get to city services, and frankly, that was my adjustment of the agenda here to sort of move this stuff up under purchasing, because part of that discussion for city services and facility maintenance, as I mentioned earlier, involves the purchasing program. But we'll start with Joshua Robertson and Maria Miller to start at the top of their programs and work their way down. Thank you.
So this department has 3 programs. that include 4501, 5520, and 6921. We did a total cut of $138,550 for 10% across those three programs. The main cuts were to outside services, small equipment, travel expenses, and then all dues and subscriptions. The largest cut that we did in 5520 was around $30,000 to our advertising, printing, and postage. This budget's very large in this program because it is where we host all of the bill printing and postage for all of our utility bills. Right now we are working with Pay It on better access on customer accounts to sign up for e-bills, and Maria's staff has already been pushing within all customer contacts, whether it be in person, by phone, or email, to encourage our customers to sign up for e-billing. So we do feel like that campaign will be working with Boo Fink and his team this summer and fall to do more of a marketing campaign to try to get our customers to sign up for e-billing. Other than that, the one program that's new that our city administrator indicated earlier is the facility maintenance. Right now we are still identifying all of the different programs and departments that will transition their maintenance of buildings into this program. We also have been doing assessments on City Hall within the fire monitoring, security, and different things of that nature to start building a maintenance budget for City Hall, and then looking at startup fees for the facility maintenance team that we currently have. And with that, Maria and I will answer any questions.
No questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move into the Development Services Departments. The first one is Engineering. Stan Snodgrass.
Okay, our program is very heavy on the salary side. We got 96% that's related to salaries and about 4% related to operating expenses. What we're looking at cutting is one of our project engineer positions that's unfilled.
How long has it been unfilled? How long has it been unfilled?
It's years.
Okay, so it's not like something that. Okay.
No.
Okay.
No, and we've actually started supplementing with outside services using contract consultants.
Okay, so the question becomes, how much does it cost to supplement with an outside engineering versus hiring within?
Yeah, we're going through and analyzing that.
Okay, because I think you're going to find out it'd be cheaper to hire within, if you can find the person.
Yeah, but the difficulty is, we've had
Okay. So that's your
extreme difficulties finding project engineers.
Okay, that sounds okay. That makes more sense. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll explain that, elaborate a little bit more in terms of the project engineers you've got budgeted, how many you've got filled,
Yeah, well,
and how long it's been.
and we've been this way for years. We have 4 project engineers budgeted. We have 0 on staff.
And that's year over year.
Yes. We've had 0 project engineers. I am an engineer, but as far as on staff, we've had 0 since January of last year. We started in February of last year contracting with Burns and McDonald's. We've got a contract. We bought a contract amendment to that to the board late last year, and then we've also got some smaller contracts with 2 or 3 other firms to supplement overseeing and managing projects. It's going very well. I think
What's the
ultimately
pay for those positions?
for the in-house engineer positions, minimum graduate will be starting out about $75,000.
Civil engineers?
Yes.
Okay.
And depending on experience, you go on up into 6 figures. It's been a difficulty.
It's not competitive.
It's
That's
not
what sounds like.
competitive.
Yeah.
It's been a difficulty in this area finding ones. It's gotten worse now. It's not only affecting us, but it's also affecting the consulting firms that I deal with that have offices in the Fort Smith area. They have difficulty recruiting people too. And then we're competing head to head with them. And I had a little over a year ago, I had a guy hired, and then he backed out because he could get more money and bonuses and everything else going to the private sector. So it's very disheartening trying to find good engineers.
Director Kemp.
Yes, two statements. One, I just want to clarify, and then I want to ask a question. You said, you did have 4, but you had filled 0. Are you still retaining some potential with this 75,000 cut, or was there only one budgeted this time?
We still have 3 on the books.
But they're not filled either?
They are not filled.
Okay. The question I have is, how do we go about recruiting? I mean, is there ways that we need to recruit differently?
That's kind of where I was going to go with my question.
We have worked with HR. We have worked with a headhunter. We have had, ads placed in all the various social media effects. We've had Facebook. We've had LinkedIn. We've had some applicants that have applied that are out of country that I think are just trying to get their visas in, and I'm not going that route. It's just, I mean, if historically I go back and I look, it's been about 9 years. It's gradually just dropped.
So the 3 that will remain in budget, is there a strategy in place to fill those, and what are you going to currently employ to do that?
Well, what we're doing now is we're trying to supplement using the consulting firms. We've got 4 firms that we're using. And we've been doing that about a year and kind of trying to get our feet wet to see if that works. It's working very well.
You're just going to keep an eye to see that the funding of that doesn't exceed the 3 positions or something? Is that kind of the idea? Okay. Thank you.
The only thing I was going to just suggest, Stan, is this is a great opportunity for us to maybe work with the university. Maybe they can bring the civil engineering department as a potential class at the university here at Fort Smith, because that's what we're going to need.
Right.
I know it's all up in Fayetteville. So what happens is they go to Fayetteville, they stay up there, they work up there. So I don't think there's civil engineering as part of the engineering department down here.
It's not. And we've actually worked with the dean up at the university up there as far as trying to
I know the dean up there. I'll reach out to some contacts I have.
Is there not some engineering?
There's mechanical, and electrical, and industrial. I think this is a good opportunity for us to talk to Dr. Riley and then my contacts through the university system. I think it's a good opportunity to grow that system because it might take 5-6 years, but what happens is they start off in high school, they know they're going to do this, they know there's jobs. It kind of helps build us and our engineering teams down here.
I agree. I was just even thinking, I know one guy that I've mentored through the years who went to UA Fayetteville for engineering, but attended those classes in Fort Smith. So, I'm wondering, is that happening with civil engineering? And perhaps we can continue to offer that up.
Thanks for that.
Okay. Any other questions for Stan? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Next, we have the Planning and Zoning Department. Maggie?
Yes, and let me make sure I push this button so I don't get in trouble. Yes, and the cut from salaries, is this on?
Yes.
Okay, good. The cut from salaries is a vacant position, a vacant Planner 1 position.
How long has it been vacant?
Since we promoted from within to a senior planner, so probably 6 months.
What kind of degree is that? Or is it a degree position?
It is. It requires a bachelor's degree.
Just in any specific discipline?
Well, we prefer planning or urban planning, but we'll take, it depends on experience.
No. Any other questions? Director Kemp.
So by cutting this position for the fiscal year here, what will we see drop in the performance abilities of planning and zoning? Is there any slower expectations, or how will this impact that?
Potentially. Hopefully not. I have a great team. The planning team is a wonderful group of people, and they work very hard. But that, of course, we are 87% salary, and that was the largest, lowest hanging fruit with the largest amount that we could cut to meet the goal.
So what could we expect if we said, let's don't make this cut? What by filling this position, what could we expect in the sense of a return on investment by fulfilling this position?
Sure. Well, this was part of our normal staff. And so what we would do is we would just put it on hold. If we were to go ahead and fill it, they would enter into the rotation and we could likely achieve more special projects in the future. Potentially, potentially annexations and things of that nature.
I'm just kind of neutral here. I mean, we talk about growing our community. Once again, this is one cut that I'm amenable to, in my personal opinion.
Thank you. There are no further questions. Thank you.
I have community development listed on your agenda here, but that program is our CDBG program, so it doesn't make any sense to do any cuts there. So we'll move on to the building safety department.
All right. Been tasked with trying to find 5%. The only place I could get it was out of the operating, so I had to cut deep. From that standpoint, you can see I cut out all travel for staff. I have 11 staff that's required to have CEUs to maintain required certification to have the jobs that they have, but everybody's up to date with their CEUs as this year, but next year we'll have to put it back in. But it was a tough call because when we send them to conferences and things, they're keeping up with the latest codes, the life safety codes, dealing with structures, things that they look at, electric, plumbing, mechanical. But I think we'll be okay this year because they're all caught up. I do have 3 new staff, young ones that haven't got all their certifications done yet, so we're going to be trying to do some in-house training to try to get them going towards taking their certifications sometime first of the year from that standpoint. Other than that, you can kind of see we'll just have to baby it through the year. But that's the only place I could get the requested closest I could get to 5% from that standpoint. I could have got into the personnel at the top and tried to do some dickering, and I might have got a 10 or 12,000 out of that, but I didn't see trying to get into that aspect of it. So, but I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, appreciate your work on that, Director Kemp.
Yes, sir, Mr. Gray. I just want to applaud your efforts for in-house training. I think that's creative thinking, and I'd like to see that continue across many departments where we can, and so I just want to applaud that. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions for Jimmy? Thanks. Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you,
Jimmy. Next, we have the Neighborhood Services Department, Sean Gard.
I think that's still on. Good evening. I'll try and keep this as brief as possible. And when looking at the proposed cuts that the board wanted, I looked over 2024, what was budgeted, and compared it to 2025, and made the recommended cuts that you see in front of you. Our budget is pretty lean. We don't have a whole lot of inflated cost in our budget at all. A portion of this, the main portion of it, is our outside services, what we utilize for our abatement action and demolitions. So with that, I did note that in what's up on the board right now, there is a typo on it. The board budgeted us $300,000 for abatement action, and that with those figures add up to only $200,000. So with that, we still, with the cut, that leaves us, we've utilized just almost close to $30,000 this year already. Some of those demolitions that the board approved just 2 months ago, that will be added into that, and I will be bringing 3 more structures to the board next month. I'm trying to, on a quarterly basis, bring these dilapidated structures that have been in the state of disrepair for more or less years now, to get these taken down and lots cleared, and hopefully get the properties into somebody's hands that can do something with it. With that, we did trim some on the computer, PC replacements, our office supplies. Some of these figures are pretty low, but one thing I did want to make note of, one of our largest parts of our budgets is postage and freight. In 2024, we budgeted $35,000, and we wound up spending nearly $45,000 in 2024. Cost of postage, cost of certified mail has gone up drastically. But we are researching right now. I've been in contact with the United States Postal Service. Right now, a certified letter return receipt that we are required to utilize is $9.69 per letter, and we send out thousands of them per year. And so with that, we've reached out because they have a program now for electronic receipt, which would drop the cost from $9.69 down to $6.49. And also that will give us a quicker return on a certified letter that we send out to allow us to move forward a little bit quicker on our abatement. So I hope to hear something back from the Postal Service on that here fairly soon.
Thank you.
I'm happy to entertain any questions at this time. Yes,
Director
Director
Kemp.
Good. Oh,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry.
Yes, sir, Mr. Guard. Just as clarified, on most of the cuts here is the 521300, the $38,000. What will we lose by cutting that $38,000?
In cutting that $38,000, I compared to what we spent last year in 2024 to what I could look at safely and leave a good margin for us. The only thing I will have to be more careful about as we move forward with demolitions is to make sure I stay within this new projected number.
So will we still be able to propose the same amount of blighted discipline or demolitions
absolutely.
that we would have anyways within these cuts still?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because once again, this is another area where I'm going, we can find money in other places. Blight is one of our things that we're trying to address.
Absolutely.
So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Director Good?
Yeah, not a question. Thank you, Pastor Kemp, because that's exactly what I was going to speak to. Again, with blight being one of the board's number one topics of addressing, talking about cutting back, we can't cut back. We're just now beginning to move forward. We're trying to bring other projects to the board for demolition. That means we're going to be stressed on manpower, harder on equipment. I don't see making this cut.
No, I appreciate that, Director.
Okay. Thank you. Seeing no other questions, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Our final department this evening is the police department.
Good evening. I have with me this evening my administrative coordinator, Miranda Shaw, previously Amanda. And I'll tell you that there is not, of a $25 million budget, there is not a penny in operating expenses that does not cross both my desk and her desk at least twice, if not more than that. So she is intimately involved with our day-to-day operations, our spending, and so she might be able to answer some questions that I can't. But just to get started, as required by administration, we put together an amended budget proposal, and I'll just say that back in mid-March, saw the handwriting on the wall in regards to us needing to start looking at potential cuts in the police department. Directed all of my command staff and Miranda to begin looking at the budget with a lens of cuts that we could make, and I gave them a list of priorities. And at the top of the list was officer safety needs, the radios, vests, guns, and that sort of thing. And at the bottom of the list was other capital projects that we had planned in our capital improvement plan. And so there was 17 points in that list, and I could go through all of them, but I don't think we all want to spend that much time. But we began this process in mid-March. And so my team went back to the drawing board, looked at our 25 budget, and there were a number of things that were identified that to be offered to cut, but none of the cuts will come without an impact of some kind. We do not build fluff into our budget. The police department, we started every year with a flat budget, and new needs that are approved after we go through that process. Sometimes there are things that are added, sometimes they're not, but there is no fluff in there, and we we're very apprehensive about cutting anything from the police department budget. And so I gave you 6 options, I believe, and starting with option A.
To be honest, I'm not interested. Same thing I'll say to fire. I'm not interested in making any cuts.
No.
I do have one item.
Not at all.
I do have one item I want to talk about that I did talk to Chief
Zero.
about. I'm for not doing anything.
Yeah, I am too.
Are we good with that? Are we good around the horn?
I was going to speak for Jared. He wanted me to make sure that
Andre. I do have one thing that I did talk to Chief Baker about earlier.
Go ahead.
It's the special events overtime budget. And I've had some conversations with you, I believe, about that. I think we need to look at that, either fund it more or don't fund it at all. It relates to events that go on in the city and the police department allocating their dollars to be there. Either we enforce a rule where the special event pays for it, or we add more dollars to that, because there's, I believe, Chief, you were saying there's things that go on that you guys maybe even aren't aware about that don't have any police presence. Is that a correct way to say it?
Yes, that does happen, and that's a challenge. And most notably are these pop-up protests and demonstrations. And there's a question about whether the city can actually require a permit, but case law is pretty clear that if it encroaches on public rights of way and interferes with the normal traffic and pedestrian, that sort of thing, we certainly can. But I mean, we really try to police those without enforcing the ordinance. It just creates problems that we don't necessarily want. But I mean, we have a very in-depth ordinance covering special events and parades, and this is still very relevant. Most of the bigger cities that deal with this in much larger scales than we do have similar ordinances in place, and there is a mechanism in our ordinance that allows the city administrator to charge the event organizers for the costs that the city incurs, including police services and fire services.
I think the way I understand it from talking to people is we're picking and choosing who we charge and who we don't.
Yes.
And either we're consistent across the board, or we do something different. I don't think the police ought to fund that. I think the special event should fund it.
That's right. I agree.
And so I think that's a change we need to make, so that's not coming out of their budget. Does anybody? I hear.
Yeah, I agree.
But you got the flip side is, if you do that, are they going to bring those special events here, and then are you going to lose out on people coming?
I doubt that.
Because I look at, we're going to have one this weekend. They got Peacemakers. There's other big events that I'm looking at. I get those other ones, but I'd rather fund it and see. Or better yet, Chief, would you bring back to us and tell us how much that costs the city for the special events? Any way y'all can put that together?
$69,000.
I can tell you right now.
$69,000.
$69,000 is what the city's paying each year for special events that we're covering the overtime and police services for.
But what happens is you'll have another special event that has to pay.
Steel Horse Rally, $18,000.
But is there potentially, Jared Rigo wanted to bring up, is there potentially a size, I know, I like that. As his representation, I would like to make clear to my client here, he wants to make sure, a size threshold. I mean, when we talk about an event, like if it's bringing 30,000 people to Fort Smith, a lot of sales tax revenue, is there a threshold consideration for events that are being planned?
From a police standpoint, certainly. From whether we want to fund it or not, I couldn't begin to make that determination. I mean, it's and that's been I guess, kind of the balancing act over the years. I know the previous administrator, if there was a new event that popped up that looked to be promising, New Year's Eve ball drop on Garrison Avenue. He would allow us to provide the police to that for the first couple of years to allow them to get on their feet, and then if it didn't. But there's not been any real process for the evaluation. I mean, it's just kind of,
And I think that's what he's advocating for, was the balance act of who pays based on, if there's becomes a predictable pattern here, then we actually have now a tread line to evaluate upon, and then maybe it's authorizing them to make that discretion.
We need to have something in place rather than city administrator picking winners and losers.
And also, perhaps, I mean, is this where a mayor, takes in action on this in regards to that as well?
Yeah, I don't know. I will say the one thing that I'm apprehensive about in discussing this is driving special event organizers away, not from the city, but from doing this the right way. The last thing that we need are large events popping up in the city that we're not aware of and that we're not involved in the planning on. As we see going on around the country, the number of mass casualties at large gatherings is increasing, particularly with vehicles driving into crowds. There are other threats that are developing, so we need to be involved in this. And I absolutely agree that there needs to be a standard on how the ordinance is applied and who should get free services from the city and who shouldn't. And we would be happy to provide any input that we can on that. But the last thing I want to do is have a chilling effect on people going about the right process to do this. I mean, even 5K races, we've had challenges with this for years. Folks want to put on a 5K fundraiser race and they just want to go out and shut streets down and start running a race. And I mean, there might have been a time we could do that and get away with it, but the traffic in this city is made that extremely dangerous.
I think we should put that on a future study session.
Yeah. Danny, how much did y'all turn back to the city last year?
Depends on who you ask, George.
Well, give me a ballpark.
$3.5 million.
Turn back?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Jeff, where does that turn back money go?
It goes back into the general fund and gets redeployed into the following year's budget.
So it's not
calling it turn back isn't necessarily accurate. I mean, I guess that's one way folks have used it. I mean, if you don't spend the money, yes, it goes back to the general fund.
But it's not earmarked for the police department.
Not until we budget it the next year, but we always budget it again the next year. But then there again, I mean, they manage their budget to where there are dollars left in it at the end. Those dollars then get applied to what happens the following year.
Well, I think we just need to leave it just like it is. That's option A, right, Danny? No change in your deal?
Yes, sir.
You can get by with that? I mean...
Well, absolutely. I mean, that was our original budget. That's what we requested. That doesn't take into account the 10% hold the admin hold. We'll continue to try to do the best we can with that. To say we turned back 3.4, I mean, that sounds like that we inflated our budget by $3.5 million, and we did not. I mean, that's where this identifying specific cuts for us was going to be very painful and cause a lot of problems. Yeah. But because, I mean, if we can, we will have salary accruals. Just as an instance, we've got an open captain's position that's been open since February when Captain Sampson retired, and we're working toward promotion for that, but we're not fast tracking that. So there will be accruals from that salary, nobody in that position for that time period, and so all that can be factored into that 10%. But if we try to take 10% from our operating expenses, there's no way that we could continue to provide the services that we're.
Chief Baker, is there or even administration, if Jeff could speak to this, is there any special consideration maybe we should consider removing the 10% hold for the police department or adjusting it down to 5% so that they can actually still move on some items that they need to move upon? I mean, if we're going to meet budget.
I think the chief can manage it to a 10% hold. What that means is if they get to the point where they need to get into that, we just have a discussion and proceed with it.
Okay.
But I think for the time being, managing it to a 10% hold is a fair ask.
Okay.
Then your retention has been a lot better now, hasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Compared to the years past.
Absolutely. I fear we're going to soon see some problems again in that regard. Salaries are outpacing. I mean, the Fayetteville is already at 64,000. State Police 67,000. I've gotten wind that there's at least 6 or 7 officers that State Police have been directly recruiting to come to work for them. So
and we're 50 what?
50. That
Jeff,
was
we got to do something about that.
that was the.
Just need more money, George.
Well, there's that 3.5 million turn back. They'll put that to salaries.
That's where a lot of it is
You
already.
can do that.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
No.
Not just yet. Not just yet. Not just
I
yet.
just wanted to comment because great idea about bringing this to a study session. I believe you thought about bringing this to a study session about the special events and how we're going to fund them. I just wanted to just point out that, the city also puts on events like the 4th of July that requires police. So we're talking about how do we fund those. So should there be a particular department or a particular fund, whether it comes out of the mayor's budget, which means he does have money for special events. But not only that, we have nonprofits that are trying to, they do things for the city. And not only police services are used, but solid waste services are used as well. So that needs to be part of the conversation. Do we allow who, how much funding? That's it.
Yeah, maybe there's a match of some sort. There's a bunch of different things we can do.
Yeah, we put some money back in the mayor's budget. It was cut 38%. So there could be.
Well, I think that's the only actual city-sponsored event that we have is the mayor's. And that would I think would be the one.
Marathon?
No.
It's not city-sponsored?
Well,
No,
it's not
really.
Put on by the city.
Oh, I see
The
what
mayor's
you're
4th of July is organized by the city. So, yeah, I guess the sponsorship it is. But I would think that would be a different scenario, because it's put on by the city. I mean,
Right.
we would provide the support for that, but
Bottom line, I don't think the police department should be dancing around some money to protect us. We need to make sure it's funded.
Yeah.
It is an essential service.
More funding, more raises.
Is there anything else?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to put these budget items on to next week's agenda along with the other budget items to next week's agenda.
Second.
Is there anything else? I'm sure you've looked at the review, the preliminary agenda.
No more coffee for Lee Kemp after 9 p.m.
Motion to adjourn.
I think she's ready to go.